And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Voice of Reason podcast. My name is Andrew Van Beber, and I am joined as always by my cohort Travis Kirkendall. And we are joined live tonight by the one and only, one of my first students ever, Mr. Michael Vincent, a.k.a. Vinny, a.k.a. all-around good guy. How's it going, gentlemen? Yeah, well, you're down there in good old southeast Missouri where everything's all fun and all that stuff, so, yeah. So, yes, it's kind of interesting to see that the difference, okay, so it's kind of weird that I'm almost exactly in the middle between you two because I can make it to Bloomfield from here in 4 hours, and I can make it to Chicagoland, at least to Naperville, in 4 hours. So, and the difference of it's you're getting ice down there right now, Vinny. You're saying you're getting ice down there right now, and yeah. So, but anyway, I tell you what, this is good having you on. For those of you who don't know, Michael is what year? Okay, this is gonna make me feel old, but what year did you graduate? Wow, 2002. Okay, so that would have been my fifth year of teaching. Um, so we also have a span here. And Travis, you graduated in 16, 17? Oh God. Yeah, see, so I'm just so there's the span of it all right there. So, but anyway, the oh God, what can I say? Yeah, yeah, but no, but we Travis, how was your weekend? Did you guys have Did you guys have weather this weekend up there then? Yeah, Vinny, how's your weekend and everything going? Yeah, Vinny, how's your weekend and everything going? Yeah, yeah. You guys talk for a second. I want to, Vinny, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about the. Yeah, I'm gonna try to fix the audio. I'm trying to see if we've got an audio issue here. I don't know what's going on here. Hold on, but you guys keep on going. Okay.
But yeah, for listeners, new listeners, give them a brief synopsis of you, Vinny.
Graduated the SEMO Law Enforcement Academy 2018, December of 2018. So I'm working on year number 5 of being an officer. And I mean, if I had it to do all over again, I probably would have done it a long, long time ago. But I mean, it's just one of them things where you kind of don't realize it until you get in it and you do it. You either like it or you don't. I mean, especially in the world we live in today.
Well, now
for sure.
Sorry about that. We do have audio now. Sorry about the technical difficulty there, but we do now have Travis and Vinny on. I'm sorry about that for those who are just joining in. Thank you. We have Lewis Kirkendall. Is that your dad, Travis?
That's my grandpa.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Grandpa Kirkendall, and letting us know that you could not hear us. So, but that was what cued me in. But yeah, so Michael is like I said before, I'll just recap it real quick again. Michael is a 2002 graduate of Bloomfield, who I had as a student, is now a Stoddard County deputy. How long have you been on with him now?
I'm not with Tyre County anymore.
Oh,
I went back to the city.
Oh, so how long have you? Let's just say it this way: how long have you been in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement for 7 years. I've been an officer for working on my 5th year.
Wow. And so we we love having the guests on from time to time and give us perspective of what's going on. And like I said before, we have a lot of issues to really go after tonight. And and I also want to mention Sean is not with us tonight again. Sean is finishing up some he's on is it training? Was it training, Travis, or was
Nah,
it?
he's lying.
Dude.
He's really hurt from the whole Chiefs game scenario. He just doesn't. He needs time to process it.
Yeah.
I get it. It was emotionally hard weekend.
Yes,
for him.
because last night Vinny and I, and that was the thing. Vinny and I were texting back and forth on Snapchat, and we're just like, "Yeah, can you believe that man's great and everything?" And then all of a sudden, I switch over to Facebook and I look on there, and Sean's like, well,
the system's rigged.
The system's rigged, and all the referees were paid, and I just
I'm not even a football fan. I'm just trolling him at this point.
Oh, I trolled him so hard last night. Half the night I was just like, all of his little. He'd have a comment here and a comment there, and I troll it. Yeah, he hated it. He hated every minute of it. So, but anyway, yeah, he's actually, I think he's finishing up some stuff, guard stuff. So looking forward to him. The possibility we kind of talked about last week. The possibility of having him back, hopefully around, maybe we can do the 100th, all of us do the 100th show together, have a few of our guests on. Mr. Vincent, you may be getting another call from us soon. But anyway, tonight's topic, I am not going to lie to you fellas. This was, and I was sharing with Vinny a little bit beforehand tonight. This was a hard one for me to prepare for. This was a topic I don't deal with lightly, but just all of the video evidence, and because you pretty much have to be some kind of weird person if you don't care for your fellow man, even if it's white, black, blue, purple, whatever. But this was a very, very difficult topic for me to discuss and to look at. Usually Janine and I'll spend a couple hours during the week talking about, show prep and everything. And she's like, so what are you guys doing? And I was like, we're doing this whole Tyre Nichols thing. And if you've been living in a cave for the last couple of weeks, this story originated, this was on January the 7th that this occurred in Memphis, Tennessee. A young man, Tyre Nichols, he was 29 years old, who worked for FedEx. And if you don't know, Memphis, Tennessee is a major hub for, I think it's actually one of the biggest hubs for FedEx. And a lot of people work for FedEx in that area. He worked the evening shift. He was on his way home. I don't know if he was on his way home from work or where he was coming from. From what we've read, and Travis and Vinny, you guys can correct me on anything that I may miss here, but the circumstances of the initial traffic stop are still kind of fuzzy right now. What they're saying, what the report originally was, is that he was driving recklessly, and that he was, they were pulling him over for a traffic stop, and he wasn't pulling over. And they pull him out of the car, and initially it was 6 guys who pulled him out of the car, and they made instructions to him to get on the ground and all this other stuff, and then it just kind of goes downhill from there. And 3 days later, the man is dead. So what we're going to do tonight, and if you don't have, we have the clip from the video clip I put together. It's about a 2-minute clip. If you want to pause or you want to look away for a little bit, if you don't have the stomach for this, but this is just to give us a point of reference, to let you know what's going on. So this is about a 2-minute video clip, and then we'll go from there.
Hey, I didn't turn you. Pass around. All right. On the ground. On the ground. All right. You don't do that, okay? Get on the fucking ground. Get on the ground. Okay. Hands your ass. All right, I'm on the ground. Lay down. That's all. Please change on the ground. Change you. Get on the ground. One. Now, all right, break your shit. Okay, dude, damn. Turn the fuck around. Put your fucking hands on your back. Bitch, put your hands behind your back while I break. Okay, stop. I'm gonna knock your ass the fuck out. You guys are really doing a lot right now. Bro, lay down. I'm just trying to go home. Lay down. Man, if you don't lay down. Oh, I am on the ground. Put your hands on your stomach. I got it. Okay. Get the fuck back. Stop. I'm not doing it. Fuck. Please. Get your hand! Give me a hand! Turn it around! Lay flat! Lay flat, goddamn! Alright. Lay flat, goddamn! Lay flat! Lay flat! Lay flat! Lay flat, goddamn! Alright. Give me a fucking thing on the stand fight. Hey, what's this? Give me a motherfucking hand. Watch out. I'm gonna baton the fuck out you. Hit the fucking hands. Watch out. Watch out. Give it your hands. Give it your hands. Give it your hands. Watch the tailgate. Watch the tailgate. Watch it. Give me a fucking hand.
And so there you have it, folks. That was, like I said, that was kind of difficult to watch. Initial thoughts, gentlemen. What, Vinny? Let's just start with you. Let's just start with basic training. Somebody's called in for a reckless driving, or you have a reckless driver going down the road. Let's just say he hasn't pulled over for a while, and he's maybe not fleeing at high speed, but he's fleeing. What's standard protocol?
Well, a lot of times a lot depends on department policies. Every department is different. Some departments, as ours, if you're not at high speed, you continue to go. A lot of times you can make the determination on how bad it is as far as how reckless they are and the rate of speed you're going at. If it's bad, you terminate.
You don't.
One reason.
Go ahead.
One reason is you want to keep everybody. I mean, if you continue to follow the guy at a high rate of speed, and I don't, like I said, I don't know the details of everything. If he was weaving in and out of traffic, if he's driving, high rate of speed, whatever it may be. The way I see it, and my boss too. I mean, if you're following this guy and he's doing triple digits, sometimes it's better. I mean, maybe back off before you hurt yourself or somebody else. Mm-hmm. Man, like I said, every department's different. It just depends.
And so, what is with what you guys have now? Is this I know you're in a smaller city. Do you guys do body cams or no?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you guys do body cam. When, if you could let us, so when do those, are they on all the time or do they just go when you hit a button or how does that work?
My body camera is mounted on my vest underneath my right pocket on my vest.
Okay.
It's on standby at all times.
Okay.
When I'm ready to activate it, I push it 2 times really quick. It'll beep beep and it's recording. A situation like that, well, let's just okay. I don't want to call it routine, but for this case, we'll say routine traffic stop for speeding or whatever. As soon as I reach down and kick my lights on and my siren, my emergency equipment, I reach up, hit my body camera,
Mm-hmm.
and turn it on immediately.
That just, you have to do that.
Yeah, I mean it, because you don't know from the time you activate your emergency lights and your siren, that split moment, you don't know what that vehicle, the driver of that vehicle, you don't know what they're going to do.
And okay, so, and if, let's just, I want to do some what ifs because I'm a little bit ignorant about this. But so what, so if you have an incident where you know, can you get in trouble if you do not activate your body cam during any kind of anything?
Absolutely, because most prosecuting attorneys and defense attorneys, that's going to be the first thing they're going to want to see. When did you activate your body cam? Or if you're dealing with a different type of situation, why was your body cam off and then all of a sudden it was turned back on and you were wrestling with my client? Or there's say there's 2 or 3 minutes in between where you turned your body camera off and you were standing there talking. 2 or 3 minutes later you turned it back on, you're wrestling with the guy on the ground. Okay, what happened
What
in that
happened?
time frame? How
And
do I know you weren't over here to the side beating the shit out of him
mm-hmm.
before you activated your body camera, and you're just getting the tail end of it where you've got him latched up and
Okay.
cuffed, and
Okay, so let's go with that then. At what point would you feel, and I've known you, we've known each other for a very long time, and I know what kind of guy you are, and you're probably one of the most laid back cops I would ever meet. But at what point would you say it would require you to use force in a situation like? I mean, what would need to be displayed to you by that person in that in the vehicle that you would have to act in such a way that you would have to use force?
it's different from situation to situation. It's really hard to talk about, honestly, because
Yeah.
I guess it's just kind of an instinct.
It's probably
to
one of
kick
those like in the moment kind of things, right?
It is, and it is.
Yeah.
It is, because now if I pull a car over, let's say if I pull a car over, I'm walking up, I call the tag out to dispatch. I'm walking up to the car. I do my thing. You see cops all the time. They're touching the back of the car. That's real. I mean, that's not just something you see on TV. That's something we do. You walk up, you touch the back of the car. If at any point in time, from me stepping out of my vehicle while I'm walking up to that car, if I'm seeing somebody reach, my guard's up immediately. Now, I'm not saying I'm doing anything, but if before I get up to that window, if I see them reaching across the car, my guard's up.
Right.
And that's just the way you're trained.
So,
you keep your head on a constant swivel, left to right, front, back. You always be aware of everything that's around you. And that's my personal thing. If I'm walking up to a car and I see somebody's reaching, my guard's up. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna reach down, I'm gonna flip the safety lock on my holster for my pistol. I'm not gonna pull it unless I absolutely have to, but it's to the point where I can access it quickly if I need to. Now, I'll continue my walk to the car. 99% of the time, they're reaching for insurance. I'll get up to the window and say, "Don't reach across the car while I'm walking up. I don't know what you're doing. Keep your hands up where I can see them. That way I know, what you're doing. If you're reaching across the car for something, I don't know what you could be reaching for a gun, a knife, whatever." Most of the time around here, I'm always reaching for my insurance, or I'm reaching for my wallet in my purse or whatever. Okay, that's fine. I'll ask for that here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let me do my thing, and then you can get that.
Do you think that and again, you are in what Bloomfield's like, what, 2,000 people, something like that?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a rural area, and it obviously situations are going to be different, and but I think one of the things that I've watched this from so many different, and you guys saw the video when he came up. The first thing they tell him, get on the ground. Boom, he's down on the ground. And the guy is, when you look at, the one good shot that they have, and you see his eyes, you see the guy's eyes, and you're like, he's confused. He's confused. The guy's confused. He doesn't know what's going on. The only problem that I have from Tyre Nichols' point of view is this. And this is going to sound bad from my point, and you guys can interject whatever you want to here. From what you guys have seen, do you think that he was following instructions to the best of his ability?
From what the story is, from what the police are saying, and then what's actually happened, no, but that doesn't justify that.
No.
It doesn't justify what the actions of the police. And his situation, from what it looks like and what I'm seeing, the guy was acting out of fear.
Yeah.
And I'm reading. The Memphis police chief has even come out and says there was no proof that he should have been stopped for reckless driving.
Yeah.
I'm reading through this article. This was Friday. They reviewed all available video footage. They found no probable cause for the warrant of the guy's arrest. And they said this whole thing was unjustified. There's no proof. Whatever the officer saw or whatever the reasoning was, they found no substantial anything proof for it. So that's my biggest dilemma, number one. And two, to go what you and I were talking about prior, you look this guy up. No criminal record. He had a job. He was a photographer. He had a legitimate business with a website. This isn't like some, criminal or some guy had a warrant for his arrest or anything like that. This was seemingly a normal guy who was just going home from work or whatever the story was. I know he was close to home. Apparently, when they stopped him, he was only like 2 minutes from his home,
from his mom's place. Yeah. The thing that so I've watched this I've listened to, and this is the thing, I've listened to CNN, MSNBC, Fox, the BBC. So I'm usually, when I do prep work for a show, especially with something like this, I want to get it from multiple standpoints. I want to see what the left is pushing. I want to see what the right is pushing. I want to see what hey, we don't have a dog in this fight are saying. And, so in my I don't want to say far right. He's actually a good commentator. Ben Shapiro is a guy who I subscribe to. And I listen to Ben Shapiro. I like Ben Shapiro on stuff, especially with religion and stuff like that and everything, because even though he's a Jew, he makes a stand for Christianity. But anyway, that's irregardless of anything. But he, when I was watching his commentary on it tonight, in his podcast today, he was addressing it today, And the thing that he said was, and he said, and even for him to say this, I think was, he was like, look, when they first pulled him over, they got him out of the car. He got on the ground. He's on the ground, but they're not. And maybe Vinny, you can chime in with something like this. I mean, they weren't saying, "Hey, lay down with your." You never heard anybody say, "Lay down, face down on the ground." I mean, these are so they're saying, and pardon my French, but this is just they said, "Get on the fucking ground, get down, get your fucking hands up, and do all this stuff." And they were. I mean, it was like it was a life or death situation. Like they were, and again, and this is maybe something I'm going to chase a rabbit with here first before I get into we have the only footage that has been released is when they roll up right on him. They have not released any video.
No, not yet.
Beforehand of, and again, Vinny, you said like as soon as you throw lights on, you're boom boom like that, right? And you're
Absolutely.
so.
Well, you would think Memphis police would have dash cams.
Well,
police department of that size, you would think.
Yeah, I mean, is that something that's standard too now anymore?
We don't have them.
I'm assuming.
I think a lot of bigger cities do. I know Highway Patrol does down here.
Yeah.
Now, and the body cam thing, like I told you, it's not necessarily just for traffic stop. Anytime I reach down and activate my emergency equipment, my body cam's coming on.
Right.
If I'm running hot to, if I get called, because we're a DPS down here, we're Department of Public Safety.
Yeah.
So we're police and fire. So if I'm on duty and we've got a fully involved structure fire out in the county, I'm going. Because I'm going to get there and let my guys know, hey, this is what you got. Now, it's just a fire. But as soon as I reach down and turn my lights and siren on, my body cam's coming on. Because I don't know what's going to happen between the time I start and where I'm going.
Right.
I could crash. Somebody could pull out in front of me. I could hit them. I mean, you don't know. Now, to go back to your, and I kind of enlightened you on this before we came on. I had a guy. I got a report tonight of a guy. I got a call. They said, hey, every time it's snowing, sleeting, any kind of nasty weather, this guy is driving like a moron through town. Okay, I'll go check it out. I knew exactly where to go. I knew exactly who they were talking about. I come up to his house, walked up. He actually met me outside, and I had my body cam going. I said, hey, I've got a report of you driving like an idiot in this weather. And mind you, there's probably a 1/4 inch of ice on the road out here. And it's slick. And he said, well, I was on the highway. And I just told him, I said, the next time I get a report of it, I'm going to write you a ticket for CNI driving. Don't drive like a moron. Drive with some sense. And think about everybody else around you except for yourself. And that was it. He said, okay. And he went inside and I got in my car and I left. My problem is, it's like Sean said, where's the probable cause at?
Or Travis. Sorry.
Or I'm sorry, Travis. Sorry, Travis.
No, you're good. You're good.
Where's your PC?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got a report of a male driver driving whatever vehicle. Do you have a plate? What was he doing? Where did he go? Where was his last known location?
Yeah.
But we don't know that stuff. What, was he armed with a gun? Was he armed with a knife? Was he, intoxicated? Was he high on drugs? I mean,
Well, and that's what I want to know, because all I've seen so far, and Travis, if you want to, all I've seen so far is I wouldn't even classify it as your 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 resisting arrest. I didn't. I mean, they had the guy on the ground. They told him lay down on the effing ground. Get the and I mean, he said okay, okay, and the guy he was like okay. He said, and he made a comment to him which probably even pissed him off more. But he said, "You guys are doing a lot here right now." And to me, what that's saying is, man, you guys are doing a lot for just pulling me over for a traffic stop. You know, and when they pulled up to him, and you can see it in the video, when they pulled up on him, he was sitting at the stoplight with his turn signal on. So if somebody who's driving reckless, why is he taking time to stop at a stoplight with his turn signal on?
9 times out of 10, they're not going to. They're just going to keep going.
Yeah. And so to me, when I look at this, and again, this is me being just a regular guy, school teacher, common tax-paying citizen, sitting back and looking at this, and I'm totally dumbfounded because, you know.
Well,
go ahead.
Here's a little backstory on these officers. So I guess all 5 of these officers who were charged with the murder, they were part of what's called a Scorpion unit.
Yeah, go ahead,
Scorpion's an acronym for Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods Unit. Where to start? So they were a specialized force consisting of roughly 50 officers patrolling known hotspots for crime, often focusing on seizing weapons and investigating gangs. In the first 3 months, the unit made more than 300 arrests and seized 95 weapons. So attorneys representing, and by the way, this is from an MSNBC or MSN.com report here. Attorneys representing Nichols' family criticized the Scorpion Unit on Friday, calling for its dissolution, and they actually disbanded this group on the 28th, I believe.
Yes.
They had learned of several excessive force allegations against Scorpion officers, including a man who said one of the officers threatened him at gunpoint just days before Nichols' beating. And yeah, they ended up disbanding this whole unit after this incident. So it seems, I mean, this is just one news article, but this seems like there had been instances before, not quite as bad. Well, I mean, getting threatened at gunpoint is never good, but no one, I guess, gotten beaten to death prior.
Well,
but it kind of sounds like this unit was a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, in what I've read about... Go ahead.
Any unit that's, I don't know, it seems like this unit was really in it. I mean, it seems like whatever these guys were doing, they were really, I don't want to say seeing a lot of action. I mean, it's not a combat unit, but I mean, like, it seems like they were really involved in some shitty crime instances. And I think this might have just been a ticking time bomb incident.
And as a former resident of Stoddard County, and I'm sure Vinny can attest to this too, I've made various trips to Memphis, and outside of Graceland and going down to watch the Grizzlies play, there's not much that you really want to go down into Memphis for. Memphis has got a lot of does have a lot of gang activity. I talked a friend who I used to teach with, and he actually just retired this last year. He went down to New Madrid. You probably remember. Do you remember Coach Ross, Vinny?
Yep.
Yeah. And so, a buddy of mine who I went to college with, who went down, and he ended up being a counselor for the rest of his career down at New Madrid. And they have, and he said something about New Madrid, which is right down in the Boot Hill there. They have a lot of transient students who come through, and a lot of it comes up from Memphis, and it's rough crowd that comes out of Memphis. And so Memphis is known for crime, gang violence, and I'm, the Scorpion unit, like you said, Travis, was put together. And some of the reports that I read about this Scorpion unit, in its early days, was praised by community leaders. It was, we're cracking down on crimes, we're getting guns off the street, we're getting drugs off the street.
I mean, yeah, like I was reading those first 3 months. I mean, their numbers
Yeah,
seemed like they were getting shit done.
but like you said, I don't know. Do you guys think that people like that who are in a situation like that would tend to be on edge? Is that something that would? I mean, if you're in a high crime area like that, Vinny, have you heard of guys? Well, we've all heard of cops who've kind of been on edge, who are in these high.
I could see it.
I mean, what kind of if you guys have let me ask you this, and I think we've talked when we had you on before, we talked about this when we had Sheriff Greenwood on from Pike County, Illinois, and everything else too. When you guys go, if it's required that whenever you guys go through some traumatic stuff, are you guys required to go through any kind of, hey, you got to talk to the department, whatever, or what's the standard protocol for something like that?
If you go through a extremely traumatic situation, you get put through. You go talk to, I guess, I don't know if it's a counselor per se, but you have steps you got to take to go through before, they say, okay, here's a gun, you go back to work. And a lot of it. And me and one of the other guys were talking about this the other day. A lot of it starts here.
Yeah.
If this ain't right, if your mental health isn't there, and this is just my opinion, if your mental health ain't there, you have no business carrying a gun and a badge. Because
and pepper spray and a baton and
100%.
Yeah. If your mental health is off,
and
anything's going to set you off, then no.
But I wonder, like a big unit, like a big city, like you take any big city police department. Generally, I would think that they're seeing crime at a higher rate. They're seeing more, I guess, things you would call traumatic. I would think they would see these things more often. It's more exposure, almost that's like the norm per se, as opposed to like someplace like Pike County, Missouri, or Vinny, where you're a police officer at.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder if, like, you think of, like, for example, like city of Chicago. I can only imagine some of the stuff some of these police officers see on a daily basis, especially down in the south suburbs, or not suburbs, but like South City, some of those neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And it's just the norm. And I almost wonder, you given this situation or a situation similar, I would almost guarantee, I don't know this for sure, I'm just assuming, a city cop would handle the situation way different than a county cop would if
Absolutely.
It was the same situation.
Yeah, because you
take someone who's in that environment every day. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. I've been both, and you see different aspects of the job. You're going to see stuff out in the county.
Oh, for sure.
That you're like, what the hell? And then you're in the city and you're like, like around here, I worked for the county, and that's where when I worked for the county, I wasn't at the county 2 months. I had my first felony stop. I haven't had one since. And when I say felony stop, there was me and two other officers with two people at gunpoint because of the situation and what had happened. And ever since.
How did you so when you came home? If I can just pick your brain just for a moment. At that moment, at that night, what was your headspace like after that? You're drawn at gunpoint. What's your headspace like in a time like that?
What the hell just went on?
And you're still
take that.
Honestly.
So take that. Your experience right there. You're going home and you're like, what the hell just happened? This was crazy, right? Your adrenaline's pumping. Now I go back to what I said about you got a city cop who's dealing with shootings every single night, homicides almost every night. My brother was telling me when he worked at St. Louis County, he would get in his car and he's already 15 calls behind. Like, it's just crazy. Stabbing here, shooting here. I'm not defending these officers. I can see the argument for needing police reform just in this aspect of, like, how the hell is a human being supposed to handle these situations every single day and and make the right choice? I don't know. I feel like you kind of get corrupted over time from it, to the point something like this happens, just because you're experiencing just the craziness of it every single day.
And I think
I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to unpack here,
and this
but
is going to lead up to what we're going to be talking to either next week or in a couple of weeks. We're slowly working our way, and Travis and I have been, and hesitantly going towards this topic of toxic masculinity. But there's part of this, I think, that plays into what these guys were dealing with. I mean, it was almost like it was once they got him pulled over, and you see this in the street cam. What you saw in the street cam. So after they had him cuffed and in custody,
they had the guy controlled. Why did they start beating the shit out of him?
Right. So after he's handcuffed, this is, if they would have, in my opinion, and I don't know, I saw Alex Ellison jump on earlier. I don't know if he's our district attorney up here, our prosecuting attorney. I don't know if he's still on or not, but if you're on, counsel, you can comment on this and let us know. But I think, and almost up until that point, when they had him in cuffs, I mean, I think they could have said, "Hey, we instructed him," and I think what I read earlier in the New York Times today was let me look and see what the number. I think they said there were 71. In that time, there were 71 commands given. They gave him 71 commands. Okay, so now we have him in handcuffs. Situation done, right? Situation over. He's in cuffs. He's not going to hurt you. He's not going to hurt me. He's not resisting, but yet...
And they'd already tased him at this point.
So they've tased him. They've pepper sprayed him. And so after they get and you see it plain as day. You don't need anybody to point out to you. They kicked the guy 3 times, and then you don't see where they kick him at, but you do see them kick him. And then you see a guy come up with a baton and smack him twice in the head. And yeah, exactly. At that point, to me, that's full on rage and frustration. To me, that's full on rage and frustration. You've let your, like you said before, Vinny. He's like, what the hell just happened? We went through this traffic chase. We chased this guy down on foot. We chased him down. We got him. And you see there's 5 different body cams that they've released. And you see the guy who's there at the car. You see the guys who are running down the street. And then you see the camper and yeah, I mean, you're just full. Like I said, this wasn't easy for me to watch. I mean, but to watch this, and I had to make myself watch this just so I could say, okay, first of all, I have to be objective about this. Was there any justification at all? Was there anything at all? And then when they, like you said, your cuffs are on him, done and done. At that point, you step away and I think you want to take your collective breath, right? I mean, am I far off on
that point?
Go ahead, Vinny.
At that point, when they had him cuffed, at that point, you sit him up or you stand him up and you make sure ain't nothing the hell wrong with him. And if there is, you get him medical attention. That's all there is to it. That's how you're taught. That's how I was taught.
And that was something else and Travis, you pointed out earlier, I don't know if it was before we went on or not, but 2 Memphis fire or what was it? Fire or first responder? What you said were released this weekend too?
There was
I believe it was 2
article here.
I think it was 2 firefighters or whatever.
Hang on, I had it. 2 firefighters were fired, and then okay, yeah, here we go. 2 more Memphis police officers disciplined. 3 fire department employees fired. I guess because he, from what I read, he didn't get immediate proper care.
Oh, he was, and you could watch the whole video itself is 38 minutes long. What I showed you guys was just a highlight. When you watch
Yeah.
towards the end of it, so they've got him set up against the car, and then he just keeps on slumping over, and they set him back up, and he slumps over again. They set him back up, and then when the ambulance gets there, they're not acting like it's
An urgent thing.
an urgent thing, but I mean, he's just, and you could hear him in the background, bro, sit up, man, sit up. And I mean, I don't think they realize that they just beat the hell out of this guy, and he's down for the count. And I mean, anybody who's in a trauma unit or anything like that would say, hey, get our flashlights out. We're checking his, pupils. Oh heck, he's dilated. We got to get him out of here. And the response time of moving him was, I mean, I think there was a lot of critical mistakes that were made on that part too. And something else that kind of brings a curiosity to me on this too. So all of the officers that were involved in this were joined the Memphis Police Department between the years of 2017 and 2020. So at most you had guys with 6 years of experience. I mean, how should I ask this, Vinny? Is there I mean, obviously there's going to be some learning curve, but when you go into the academy or when you go into training, how much, when they give you your sidearm and they say, okay, here's your car, here's your sidearm. I mean, how prepared do you feel, and when do you start feeling comfortable in your skin as a police officer?
You're book prepared.
Yeah.
Your classroom prepared.
Right.
Till the moment you put that badge on, you punch in for the first time, and you get in that car. I mean, it just depends on where you're at and what you got to deal with. I'm almost I'm working on my 5th year of being on patrol, and I promise you, every single day, there's nothing that's, I mean,
you're always ready for surprise. You got to be ready for surprise
all the time, because you don't ever know.
For sure.
I live in a town that's right smack dab in the middle between Jackson and Kennett, with a major state highway that runs right through the middle of it.
Right.
And Jackson's Kate County, Kennett's Dunklin County, and those
drugs
Kate
and everything.
County and Dunklin County, Butler counties to the west, Bollinger counties to the northeast or the northwest, Scott counties to the east. I mean, we're surrounded by crappy counties everywhere. I mean, Tyre County ain't much better, but I mean, it's just, you don't ever know. I mean, okay. When I was still working nights and I was on patrol at nights when I came back to the city, 2:30 in the morning, little town of Bloomfield, I'm sitting down on 25 highway. I get this crappy car coming through at 2:30 in the morning, and I run the tag on it because he's made 2 traffic violations, and he's driving up through town. He turned off 25, drove up through town. I run the tag on it, came back to a totally different vehicle. I stopped the car. I do my thing. Guy had 5 warrants out of St. Francis County. No active driver's license, no insurance. You don't know.
So let me.
And he was coming from Cape at 2:30 in the morning.
That's what's funny about, like, most people don't realize a lot of these, like, small rural areas, like the amount of crime that's actually out in these towns. Like, there's so much everyone just thinks the cities as crime, and man, there's some places like out in the woods, man, you better have a gun on you. There's some sketchy towns out there, man.
Vinny,
People have no idea.
let me ask you this. And I pretty much already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What more can law enforcement do that they're not already doing to help? I mean, you said already every day can be a surprise. Is there anything more that, I mean, training wise or anything else that could be done or put into place that can make the situation? Or accountability even to this Scorpion unit. Is there what more as a law enforcement officer? Do you see anything else? I mean, you obviously you're just like us, kind of an outsider looking in. But do you think there could be anything else that could possibly be done in these situations to prevent crap like this from happening?
I mean, not really. It sucks to say that, but it's because you don't know the situation. Now, I mean, we can sit there and I'll tell you right now, you kept talking about how they got him out of the car and he was on the ground. Okay, you've got him on the ground and he's complying. You put cuffs on him. There's enough of you there.
Put cuffs on him.
You put cuffs on him. There's 3 steps. You ask, you instruct, and then you act. That's how I was trained.
Yeah.
You don't have to pull your baton out and beat the ever-loving shit out of him.
Right.
If he ain't armed, these right here are my favorite tool.
Right.
Just
You
restrain
can
them.
do so much for this right here without reaching down on that belt. I tell everybody that all the time. If I'm not immediately threatened, I'm going to use these before I go to that belt.
And that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point right there.
Yeah, it is.
Because he wasn't armed. He wasn't fighting initially, he wasn't fighting back. And you said it. 5 guys. 5 guys.
Yeah, why didn't they just restrain him instead of beating him? Why didn't they just restrain him?
You seriously, 5 guys standing there, you're going to look me in the eye and tell me that man's laying on the ground and 2 of you can't put cuffs on him? Really?
Roll him over and because at the time, like I said, his eyes are huge. He's sitting there. And later on, when you watch another part of the video, he was high on something. Well, we
don't know that.
We don't know that because, that's the other thing, because we haven't gotten any toxicology reports back at all. Like we said, the only autopsy that's been released so far has been the cause of death, which was, blunt force trauma and all this other stuff. But I'm with you. I mean, the video shows him. They've got him on the ground. And he's not resisting at all. Cuff him.
Even, say they do a report and say they determined he was high on marijuana at the time it happened. Do you really think someone high on marijuana is going to put up this giant fight and do all these issues? Like, I don't see it. If he even had it in the system, I don't see it.
I mean,
the only time I've ever seen somebody high on marijuana fight like that is if it was laced with something.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's got to have another factor.
Fentanyl or something else, right?
And again, this is just assuming if he's even. It sounded like he's just it sounds like he was completely innocent. But again, they haven't released the footage of prior. However, the police chief is saying that there was no probable cause or any reason for this to happen. So take that for what it's worth. But either way, this should have never happened.
So,
it went way too far, and a man lost his life.
As of 3 days ago, they were asking when can they expect the toxicology reports to come back. What they're saying is, let's see. So what they're saying is one of the news reporting sources saying they have to wait for this toxicology report, but the independent autopsy found that it suffered an extensive bleeding caused by severe beating. You know, he
I
he
would
went
say,
he
now say if the guy was high on meth or like bath salt or something, then we can maybe make
right,
an
but they said
argument
he
as
was
to
in
why they had a heart.
he went into
It
cardiac
doesn't sound like
arrest.
he was the kind of guy.
Right, the cardiac arrest and his kidneys were failing. You know, but
Probably from the trauma he experienced.
you know, they said at the time of the autopsy, blood, urine, and tissue samples were collected. But they had but they say right now that it may take up to 4 to 6 weeks or even longer to get the results back from the toxicology report.
That's just a given with anything, really.
Yeah, and so we're not, we're gonna, and so this event happened. So this happened on January 7th. He died on January the 10th. So we're still
middle of March.
Yeah,
end of March probably.
Maybe. Yeah, and I tell you what,
I'll be interested to see that.
It would be interesting to see that, but right now,
at the end of the day, though, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't even it doesn't even begin to justify that. And I think one of the things that we need, and one of my other friends on Facebook, who's a state trooper up in Iowa, and he posted today, and I didn't comment, but I gave him a little thumbs up on it. He just said, what these 5 police officers did was heinous and was uncalled for. He said, but recognize that represents like the 0.09% of all police officers everywhere, and that pretty much any police officer would be willing to lay their life down for another human being and come to the, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. I mean, I know this guy I've known this guy right here for a long time, and I know I would love to. After the podcast, stick around, Vinny, because I want to tell you what's been going on here with our local police department here in Louisiana. But but outside of these things that are going on, we want to always be out there, and here at the Voice of Reason, we are 100% behind our law enforcement officers, but we also believe, and I know, and I think I can speak for Michael on this too, that situations like this, warrant investigation. We did see though, some response to this. We have seen we haven't seen a lot of riot come out of this. We've seen some. Tyre Nichols' parents, his stepdad and his mom both said, "Hey, if you're going to protest peacefully. You're not going to honor our son at all by, burning down your neighbor." Hats off to them, and hats off to his lawyers and everybody. They said, do not respond. We don't want looting. We don't want violence. We want peaceful protest. And
I talked to a buddy of mine. He's got Grizzlies season tickets.
Yeah.
And they went to Sunday's game. 0 protesters.
Yeah.
Really?
0.
And
news people are also guilty of zooming in on small crowds and making it.
And here's the other thing too, and that I'm and I hate this. This is what I hate. I think a month from now, we're not going to remember Tyre Nichols' name, because unlike a George Floyd, where you had a guy George Floyd, who was methed out of his mind, he was all this other stuff, but he was beat up by a cop who had a history of violence himself, and it's forever going to be remembered because it was a white cop beating up on a black guy. And now you have 5 black cops who beat up a black guy. It's getting media attention, but it's not getting the outrage factor, because it's not. And this is what makes me mad about the media. It shouldn't matter what color the cop is. It should make you pissed that it's a cop beating up on an unarmed guy.
Yeah, color shouldn't play.
Color should not play anything into the factor. If the guy was, if it was,
this was way worse of a of a situation in George Floyd, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I mean, granted,
Absolutely.
both men died, but I mean, there was different. There's a different scenario with George Floyd than this.
Yeah, this is, and I mean, a guy without a criminal record, you can't, and that's the other thing too. I mean, because your far right guys don't have anything to run with because Tyre Nichols was an everyday. He was a dad, 4-year-old kid, skateboarder, photographer, nature lover, loved to go out, and they have one of those outdoor parks out of the, like a forest in the middle of the city there in Memphis that he loved to go to and hike and everything. Normal guy, normal everyday guy. And it's sad to see stuff like this happen. But anyway, this is a tough topic to talk about. We got a couple of comments tonight. Thank you for those. Vinny, as always, it's good. Thank you for joining us tonight and donating an hour of your time.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
And
Absolutely, guys. Anytime you want me on there, just holler. I'm usually at home. So.
and way to represent there with the Chiefs jersey as always. You know, maybe I'll take a screenshot of this and send it to Sean later and just say, "Hey, look who we had on." But
well, let me
I'm
turn
gonna buy
around
a Chief jersey just to piss him off.
Yeah, let me turn around and get the back of it.
He hates Mahomes. He hates Mahomes. He calls him Ketchup Kermit. He hates Mahomes with a passion. I
say they hate us because they ain't us.
That's exactly right. So, anyway, Travis, anything else you want to pull out before we head out for this week?
Nope, I got nothing. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for commenting if you did, and catch you all next week.
Yep,
Thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you guys all next week. We'll see you later.